Hi everyone, I'm Evan Savage and I'd like to present a tool I built called datafist. Datafist is an in-browser environment for visually exploring your data. I'll explain what that means with a personal example. I live with 7 others in a house near UC Berkeley. In November 2012, we were hit with a $300 electric bill from PG&E, and we wanted to know what was going on. I went to the PG&E site and downloaded an hour-by-hour breakdown of our electrical usage for November 2012. It's a CSV file, and you can see that we have the date, the time, the amount we used for that hour in kilowatt hours, and how much we paid for it. To import this data, I drag and drop it into datafist. I give it a name, tell datafist which columns are date and time, and finally which columns I want to import, cost and usage. And I get those 2 datasets over there, the blue ones. To visualize a dataset, I drag it over there, drag over a view, and then I connect the two. The view shows up instantly at top. The first question we had was, how are cost and usage related? First, let's plot the two against each other. This view really surprised us. We expected to see 1 line here, but there are actually 4. This is PG&E's tiered pricing model at work. They give you a quota, and they charge you higher and higher rates as you go further over that quota. How does that work? Well, we're talking about a rate of cost versus usage here. To see that rate over time, I can divide the two and go back to my line graph. And now we can clearly see the 4 different tiers. And you can also see that this is a monthly quota. As we reach each tier, we pay a higher rate for the rest of the month. How did we use so much power in the first place? Let's take a different look at the usage data using a histogram. Most of the time, we're not using that much, but there's this long tail of higher usage. At the highest end, we have some hours where we're using nearly 6 kilowatt hours, or 3 times the American household average. And we can zoom in on this part to get a better look. I'd like to get a breakdown by time of day, so we're going to put the hour of day operator in there. There are a couple of peaks here. There's one around midday, but the really obvious one is over here at 6 to 9 p.m. And I selected 1 kilowatt hour and above, but I'll change that to 3 kilowatt hours to see the really high points. And now you can see that peak there much clearer. What about the day of the week? The really high ones here are the 2 and 3, or Tuesday and Wednesday. What about seasonal effects? Most households use more power as it gets colder. To test this out, I retrieved hourly weather data for November 2012 in Berkeley through the Weather Underground API. Again, we have the date, we have the time, and we have the temperature in Fahrenheit. I'll just import that as well. Same drag and drop gesture. Give it a name, identify the date and time columns, and I want to import temperature. You can see that a lot of the weather readings here were taken at 53 minutes past the hour. I guess that's when the weather station was taking the readings. So we'll have to shift this forward 7 minutes to line it up with the PG&E data. That's no problem. I go down here, use the time shift operator, connect the two, tell it how far I want to shift, 7 minutes. And now I can plot this against our usage data. So I'm going to get a plot of electrical usage versus outside temperature. Oops, wrong way. Switch those two around. And I can see now that we're not really using more power as it gets colder. Most of the usage is in this central band, between about 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Now there's a good reason for that. If I graph the distribution of temperature for my area in Berkeley, I can see actually that most of the time the temperature is in that central band, 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not surprising that many of the outlying data points are there as well. So what did we learn about our power usage? PG&E uses a tiered pricing scheme. Once we went over 130% of our monthly quota, our rate doubled from 15 cents per kilowatt hour to 30. Our highest usage hours were between 6 and 9 p.m., which is normal for most households. We use the most power on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Unlike the average household, however, we weren't using more power due to colder weather. So why was our usage so high? Most of us in the house love to cook, so we suspected that our problem was heavy usage of the electric oven and stove, as well as the 2 fridges. To verify this, we went and measured different appliances with our housemate's kilowatt meter. Sure enough, our oven, stove, and fridges, these things that we use to support our cooking habit, are the major consumers of power, easily accounting for half of our usage. I built datafist because I believe that part of owning your data, part of having control over that data and what it means to you, is being able to explore it. That's when the data really comes alive, when you get to dissect it, work with it, test out your own theories. That's when you have the chance to form your own interpretations of the data, which is a really powerful experience. Most of the existing data analysis tools out there were built for developers, analysts, or other technically minded people. With datafist, I hope to make that experience a lot more accessible for the rest of us, so that we can all benefit from it. If you want to try out a super early pre-alpha version of datafist, you can visit datafist.savageevan.com. If you're interested in contributing to datafist, it's up on GitHub. Happy exploring!